everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are looking at grammar. And have you ever said, I enjoy learning English, and thought to yourself, should it be, I enjoy to learn English? Which one is correct? Or are both of them correct? Well, if you've had those questions, don't worry, because today we are going to look at when we use the gerund form of the verb, when do we use the infinitive form of the verb, and yes, there are situations where we can use both of them. We're also going to look at how the meaning of the verb changes, whether you use the gerund or infinitive form of the verb, and of course, finally, we're going to do a little quiz. So, let's not waste any more time, and let's go look at what is the gerund form of the verb. So what is a gerund? A gerund is a verb that ends in ing and works like a noun. So that's very important to remember. It works like a noun. And how do we structure the gerund form of the verb? Very simple. The base form of the verb plus ing. For example, talk plus ing. We've got the gerund talking. So even though it looks like a verb, a gerund behaves like a noun, and it can be the subject of a sentence. Swimming is good for your health. It can be the object of a verb. I enjoy learning English. And it can be the object of a preposition. He apologized for being late. So when do we use gerunds? Well, after some specific verbs, we must always use the gerunds. Let's look at examples. Enjoy, avoid, finish, suggest, consider, mind, keep, admit. So remember those verbs, because after these verbs, you have no choice. You must use the gerund. Let's go look at some example sentences as well. She avoided answering the question. We finished working late. I enjoy watching movies in English. I enjoy to watch movies in English. So I put in that mistake on purpose there. Remember, after enjoy, we can only use the gerund form of the verb. Another situation where we always use gerunds is after a preposition. So if a verb comes after a preposition, we use the gerund form of the verb. And if we look at some examples we can say, I'm interested in learning English. He left without saying goodbye. She's good at explaining grammar. And finally, we will also use gerunds when we talk about activities in general. And if we look at some examples, we can say reading helps improve vocabulary, traveling broadens your mind, exercising regularly is important. So there we have it. There are all the situations when we use the gerund form of the verb. Remember that? Let's move on to the infinitive form of the verb. So what is the infinitive form of the verb? Well, the infinitive is the base form of the verb with to. And the structure is very simple. It's to plus the base form of the verb. For example, to plus eat, to eat. So when do we use the infinitive form of the verb? And like the gerund form of the verb, there are some specific verbs that when you use them after, you must use the infinitive form of the verb. So these verbs are want, decide, plan, hope, agree, promise, refuse, and need. So remember those verbs, because after them you have no choice. You must use the infinitive form of the verb. So again, let's look at some examples. He decided to change jobs. They promised to help us. I want to improve my grammar. And if we go look at the mistake, let's go say, I want improving my grammar. Of course, that is wrong. And you know what? You can even hear it. It doesn't sound correct. Another situation where we will only use the infinitive form of the verb is to express purpose, to explain why you are doing something. Let's look at some examples. I study English to get a better job. She went to the shop to buy milk. He's learning English to get a promotion. And finally, we also use the infinitive form of the verb after adjectives. So let's go look at some examples. It's easy to understand. I am happy to help you. It's difficult to explain this rule. So there you have it. When do we use the infinitive form of the verb? Let's go look at the next one, because there are some situations where we can use both the gerund and the infinitive form, and both are correct. So let's go have a look at that. So after some specific verbs, you can use both the gerund or the infinitive form. It makes no difference. And these verbs are like, love, hate, prefer, start, and begin. And if we look at some examples, or just one example to explain this, we can say, I like reading books. I like to read books. And in this case, both sentences are correct with no change in meaning. And while we are on the topic of gerunds and infinitives, it's also important to know that verbs that go before the infinitive or gerund, that the gerund and the infinitive can actually change the meaning of that verb. So some verbs change meaning depending on whether you use a gerund or an infinitive. And let's go look at an example so I can explain it to you. And let's use the verb stop. So in the first sentence, he stopped smoking. We use the gerund, and that means that this person quit the habit of smoking. But if we use the infinitive form instead, the sentence will read, he stopped to smoke. We use the infinitive, and in this case it means he stopped what he was doing in order to smoke. So also just note on this, because we are on the topic of gerunds and infinitives. So yeah, so that's it for gerunds and infinitives. Let's quickly just summarize what we've learned today. Firstly, we use gerunds after certain verbs, after prepositions, and for general activities. We use infinitives after certain verbs to express purpose and after adjectives. Some verbs allow both forms, both the gerund and the infinitive, and some verbs change meaning, so context is key. So yeah, so remember those rules related to the gerund and infinitive. Let's finish up this video with a quick quiz. So let's go look at the examples or the questions first, and then afterwards we look at the correct answers. She enjoys cook for her family. I like read English books. We hope travel to Europe next year. She studies hard, get better results. He avoided answer the question directly. They love eat pizza. So yeah, so there are the questions. Go look at that quickly. I'll give you a little bit of time to think about it and change all those blue verbs into the gerund or infinitive form of the verb. Let's go look at the answers. She enjoys cooking for her family. Remember, after enjoy, we need to use the gerund form of the verb. I like to read or reading English books. Yeah, after like, remember, we can use the gerund or the infinitive. We hope to travel to Europe next year. After hope, we use the infinitive form of the verb. She studies hard to get better results. After study, we use the infinitive form of the verb. He avoided answering the question directly. Of course, after avoided, we use the gerund. And the last one, they love to eat or eating pizza. Again, after love, we can use the gerund or the infinitive. Well, that wraps it up for another video. Now you know when to use the gerund form of the verb, the infinitive form of the verb, or in which situations you can use both. I hope this video was helpful. If you like the content, please like and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. And as always, thank you everyone for watching, for liking, for subscribing. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.